All right. Welcome, everybody, to the show. I'm James Rink, and you just clicked on Super Soldier Talk. So typically we discuss about topics into the secret space program, but today we're actually going to go into El Dorado, which is not in space, but it's underground. So Rainetta Jones has the ability to communicate with King Oban of El Dorado, and so we're going to go. I've got these 2 pages of notes to share from a conversation with King Oban, and Stephen Kelly is here also because he's going to be sharing some of his information when he communicated with King Oban. So let's start off, and thank you all listeners for coming on here today. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put into the comment section. All right, so Stephen Kelly is a ex-CIA NSA contractor, solid-state laser pioneer, free energy engineer, light-speed ion propulsion technology consultant, and I guess you did this with Billy Meier, but apparently, okay, he said that he actually did this. He invented it himself, but then he started working with Billy Meier. But if he can explain
Actually, Billy Meier came first, but it's okay.
Okay. And as a weapons expert for the Oliver North gang, I think you were building laser weapons, if I'm not mistaken, for the Iran-Contra period. But he helped organize the Occupy the Getty movement, so you can check that out on his Telegram group linked in the description below. And he also has memories of being a astral warrior or Jedi or super soldier. But I don't know if we probably won't have time to discuss those experiences. But we also have here Rainetta Jones, who is a native of Trinidad. At the age of 14, she moved to the United States and then attended Martin Luther King Jr. High School in Manhattan, New York, where she had experienced missing time. As a young adult, she had dropped out of the University of Buffalo, where she was studying a degree in molecular biology due to the neurological anomalies, which is caused, what she says, by brain scrambling technologies. I think another guest on my show, Olivia James, she calls this the aftercare program. But when she reached the workforce, she developed 2 inventions, the iPod and Kindle, and also a novel conceptual hosiery design, all of which was stolen by her Jewish friends that were Russian and Israeli intelligence agents, I guess. They took her ideas and gave it directly to Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos, and they hashed out a plan to get her out of the country in England so Rainetta could not contest the stolen technology or be paid. Eventually, she moved back to the United States to begin and worked as a certified public administrative professional at the United Nations and other government agencies in New York City. In 2004, Rainetta met with the disgraced fashion designer Peter Nygård, who shapeshifted into a T-Rex reptilian in front of her. I think to eat her or something, but I don't know. Rainetta can explain that. But Rainetta believes she is an SSP experiencer and has contact with extraterrestrials throughout her life. She's a medium portal and has communicated with beings from inner Earth, like King Oban. So today we're going to be going to conversations with King Oban and also Stephen and Rainetta and myself. So King El Dorado is a Kemet civilization located underneath Trinidad. And we're going to be learning more about their gold kingdom culture and what the king has to say. Oh, yeah, about the Vatican. I don't know if we have too much about the Vatican today. I think he's actually discussing about the Anunnaki, but we're going to go into that. So how is everybody doing?
I'm good. Thanks.
Great to be here, James.
Yeah, thank you for coming on here today. And we've got amazing information here to share. So I guess what I'll do is I'll start off with some notes from the session that we did with Rainetta. So what I'll do is I'm going to read each paragraph, and then I'm going to pause. I got 2 pages here, so it won't take too long to go through this, and then I'll allow everybody here to comment, or anybody that wants to comment. Okay, so according to King Oban, Trinidad was named after the Trinity, which is the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But it's not just 3 mountain peaks in Trinidad, which is why they call it Trinidad, so the 3 peaks. Rainetta, there's some kind of, let's see here. He said there's an anomaly in Google Earth, a cloaking device, an ancient civilization at the bottom of the earth. Was that the north of Trinidad on Google Earth?
Yeah, like just recently, going back to the area, there's a pyramid in that area next to what they call Mahot Bay. And all of a sudden, this anomaly showed up. And that's what made me reach out to Stephen, because I know he's really good with like anomalies and portals and closing them and that kind of stuff. So when I saw that, that was right after the first interview, and that's when I reached out to Stephen. I was like, "Hey, Stephen, this thing opened up. What do you think?" And he said that looks like a portal. And Stephen is more of an expert in these portal type technologies than I am. So, Stephen, you remember that conversation?
Oh yeah. You reminded me that I almost totally forgot. But in case you want me to look at the pyramids, and I saw I saw more pyramids than she did. I think we saw 7 of them altogether. But there was one in particular that was on the land right there, just below that portal thing, a little bit to the
Left.
to the left.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, right there. She'll touch. I don't know if you want to show everybody where it is.
Yeah, sure. Mount Bay. Go down.
You want to show them the substation?
Down here.
Yeah, the substation is Eastern Main Road and Barataria. Yeah, we needed to show them that. So you would have to type in Barataria, Trinidad.
Okay, let's see here.
Well, it's almost, if you zoom in, there's a little bay. It's up there. You just kind of keep zooming in right there. We're a little bit more to the left, I think. Yeah, right there.
Okay, so you want to
like this
bay?
Help him. It's closer to the bay, isn't it?
Okay, yeah, you want
know where you live.
It's Scotland Bay, right?
Okay, yeah. So yeah, go up in. Okay, right where you see the intersection of the colors. So make a right. Go right. Right, yeah, right. A little bit more right, just a little bit. That's the pyramid. So zoom in on that. Right there. That's it.
You can see it plain as day. Right
Yeah.
there.
Zoom in. Keep zooming. Yeah. Zoom in. Yeah, that's it. Okay, now rotate. Zoom in a little bit more and then rotate. Yeah. Now zoom in. Keep zooming. Zoom. You come in. Yep. Pull back. Pull it down. There you go. Zoom in now.
Is this?
Well, that's not where the substation is. That's
the pyramid.
Yeah, that's the pyramid. But
Yeah, we're doing the pyramid.
show me the substation.
I mean, that looks like a pyramid there too.
Yeah, there's like 7 of them.
There's a whole bunch.
Bunch from underwater.
Did the Kemet civilization build this stuff before they went underground?
Yeah, what I wanted to do was I wanted to get a LiDAR expert to look at the topography of the land. I just didn't have time, but I really would like, before we get to Barataria, I want you to go back to that area that you first went to, because you really didn't zoom in on it properly, where the pyramid is. Right. Go up. Right there. Zoom in. Okay. And now, slowly turn at an angle. Okay. Now zoom in. Yeah, that's a really good view. Zoom, if you can. Zoom in. You can turn just a little. Yeah, okay. There you go. Hold on. Now you're really beginning to see it. I mean, I can do it. You know what? Let me do it. If you don't mind, I can do it from mine. I'll show you guys the pyramid. So Stephen, you take it from there, and I'll pull it up. How about that?
Well, I mean, you do it. I'm just.
No, I'll just do the pyramid.
While you're looking for it, I can explain how you kind of interact with me there, because that's a good segue. Okay,
Yeah.
James, this is where a while back I did a show, and I talked about the gold and the water and the living water and the living gold and all this stuff that was going on underground here in California, however deep that it would seem to be all over the place, because this was all related to the whole Getty thing. But the other thing that really coincides with what she's doing is with the whole Jedi business. For a while there, we were dealing with a lot of Nazi activity in South America, which is basically what this is part of South America that we're talking about here, the very northern part. and we ran into all kinds of monstrous big bodies of water with gold along the banks. And one of the things that we found under the water was that there was another layer in the water. It was like you're underwater, and yet it's like you're in the air, and then all of a sudden you go underwater. You're underwater, and then you really go underwater. And that was that living water, I guess, right? It's a whole nother thing. It's like people kind of refer to it sort of like it's going into jelly. What would you say, Rainetta?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And at first when I saw this living water, it was like a wall. And I was like, oh my God, there's water amongst water. On one side it's water that we know, and then on the other side it's water that we don't know. And this water is sentient, you know. Take it
Yeah.
from there, Stephen. Go ahead.
It's like, well, we know that water is already a chi superconductor. If it's, the what is it? The carbon, not carbon, but the hydrogen bonds are all complete. They make up that tetrahedral structure that's sort of like a works like a quartz crystal, basically. And then if it's filled with this knowledge, this basically is what it is. It's this information that holds that stuff. And this, what it does, I mean, when water is configured properly, it's like blessing your water. But this stuff is almost like water that's almost like a crystal, basically. And that's the same thing with gold. People don't realize is that non-ferrous metals are crystalline. Even some ferrous metals, and iron is crystalline, but non-ferrous gold and silver is very crystalline. And this is why it's such a big deal with these UFOs and stuff. UFOs it's the nature of dissimilar crystals and the interaction. It's kind of like copper and iron, to make electricity in a generator or run a motor. Kind of the same principle, all that stuff. It's really simple, really. Anyway, Rainetta. Okay, well, I was saying why she came to me because this thing, and then it turned out I said, she's telling me about King Oban, and I basically what happened was in the whole process of trying to deal with her implants and stuff that she was dealing with. My enemies, the guys I'm dealing with, the bad guys are certainly the Draco, or the ones we're focused on now, and then the Gray, and then eventually the Anunnaki. So I'm running around saying these guys are Anunnaki without really knowing anything about who he really was. And I think the thing with Oban, the reason why he wanted to meet me was because A, he was concerned that Rambo was going to, conquer him and steal his gold, and B, he didn't like being called an Anunnaki. Isn't that right, Oban? Or I'm sorry, Rainetta? He was like kind of not happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, the first introduction with Stephen was kind of like, it was a little bit aggressive.
It was a little edgy.
Yeah, it was aggressive
Like,
because Stephen was, on his war path, like, everything underground is either Nazi, Anunnaki, that kind of stuff. And King of, I know. And for King Oban, he was like, no, people need to understand that we are separate. And that was something he wanted to stress. The civilizations in the earth, the inner civilizations, they are separate, but they do recognize the other kingdoms that's in the earth. But, for example, James asked me the question about Tartaria. Tartaria, they believe it's one. And he said, we understand Tartaria, but Tartaria was one. He said, no, we are distinct and unique, although we have treaties and agreements with other civilizations. But I really reached out to Stephen because he's really good at understanding these portals. And a portal opened up to the north of Trinidad. The funny thing is I have the share screen on with the pyramid, but it's not sharing on your side. So I don't know what's going on. Okay, there you go.
I have to press a button.
Wonderful, that's it. So Stephen, this is the pyramid that's near Scotland Bay. Now, here's the funny thing about this. Oban in Gaelic, which is Scottish, means small bay. This area is called Scotland Bay. I don't think that's a coincidence, right?
That's some kind of ancient Templar craziness. That's the thing, James. It's like this stuff goes back to Columbus, of course, who was Templar. It's just like when the Mormons were coming across the country, they were basically a branch of the Templar. They were all looking for entrances to these undergrounds, and these, the thing is that you hear about them, the search for El Dorado, the search for the Fountain of Youth. It's the same thing. That's really what this is all about. But hell,
Oh.
we didn't even talk about what Oman said. We should
So-
do that now.
Can you show the little distortion about north of Trinidad?
Yeah, sure. I want to show the pyramid that's next to Mahot Bay, the second one. And
Oh.
then I'm going to show the portal that opened up. Right? And then we're going to talk about Stephen's experience
Is it
with
still,
Snowball.
that portal is still doing its thing? I mean, I don't know how fresh these pictures are. How fresh is the images you get there on that Google Earth that you're looking at?
They update it pretty frequently because that portal wasn't there. I've been looking at this area since 2015 and it wasn't there. So, All right, so I'm going to show you guys the pyramid that's next to Mahot Bay. Okay, and then we're going to go to the portal because that pyramid next to Mahot Bay, literally you can plot the line from that pyramid to the pyramid in Grenada, which means King Oban was telling the truth, because what's peculiar about Grenada is that Grenada has volcanoes, and the pyramid in Grenada, it's called Spice Island. That pyramid was an active volcano. Under it was a volcano. And if you remember what King Oban said, we work with lava. That's one of the mediums they use to build and one of the mediums they use as a weapon to defend themselves. And I realized that the lava that they're channeling, it comes from literally Grenada. And this pyramid I'm about to show you aligns with Grenada. So Stephen, if you want to talk to them about the portal, because I'm not an expert on portals, that'd be great.
Well, I just want to say that the portals are one of the reasons, probably the primary reason why we're doing what we do, because there was a treaty way back when involving the Grey, the Draco, and the Anunnaki, and with the creator, or whoever it is that, if you feel is the actual creator and is capable of making such treaties. But to get them to stop warring with each other and all the other species out there, they signed in this treaty. And one of the big things that they said they were not going to do was use portals. And the Draco, of course, were the big problems with the portals, because it's like in the Getty, under the Getty, there's at least, I don't know, it's like 6 or 7 of these things that we know about down there. And so, in other words, we're constantly fighting those things. We're trying to close them, and if we don't close them, we send them somewhere other than where they're supposed to go. That's one of the big ways that you can battle these things. I mean, if you know anything about portals. But yeah, one of the big things the Jedis do is enforce this portal thing and shut that down. A lot of I'll tell you, people like to talk about loosh, right? Or black goo, AI, all that stuff. They use the portals for that purpose, because they're down here with their AI black goo collecting all this black chi loosh. People call it adrenochrome. They're collecting something else too. Anyway, that eventually will, like spider tentacles to every person, will lead back to one of these portals typically, and from there they send it off to, some dark place. And so that's one of the big things that Jedi do, is having to disconnect these things, clean them up, make them white, and basically send them into a different portal or something. But yeah. Enforcing this treaty not shutting down these portals is a big deal. And the main reason why they're a big deal is because they use them to send more Draco here on Earth. In other words, they're only allowed to have so many of these Draco. There's only so many Draco in the universe, and here they are reinforcing. They're not supposed to do that. They're trying to compete with us, and that's why it's all-out war on them now. And like I said, the Draco are his enemy number one. And this is why when Oban came along, I'm just assuming he's Anunnaki, and I'm thinking he's thinking that who's ever my enemy of my enemy is my friend, kind of a deal, right? And he's all into gold. He's like, everything's gold. The buildings are gold. He's covered in gold. The throne is gold. It's not just gold. There's big giant jewels too. It's crazy.
So, Stephen, I've got some a response from King Oban about the Anunnaki question. So this is what he says. He says, "No, I'm not Anunnaki." And he has his short staff in his left hand. And, he's very tall. He's wearing a lion cloth around his waist. He says that he predates the Anunnaki.
I understand.
hold on.
I know he's angry about this stuff.
Yeah, he says that he's taking great offense to being called Anunnaki, so they do not want to be called that. He's also wearing this short toga over his left shoulder. He says, "I'm not offended at you. It's not wise or respectful to give people titles before asking. It's better to ask and listen than to accuse." Says that he will not permit any treaty. Okay, I don't know. The purpose of him doing this is that he wants to remain neutral from all the different ET races that are here, but it's becoming more and more difficult to remain neutral because of the amount of that are here, and they are also seeking this living gold. They're trying to get into El Dorado and, I guess, steal it related to the Earth races. He came before Anunnaki, but he wanted his civilization to remain neutral. He doesn't like someone he doesn't want to hand over their power to someone who doesn't understand planetary politics. I guess he's referring to these other groups on this planet. So that's why he says there will be no treaty to hand over power of their kingdom to some individual. They've been there for millions of years, and we just arrived on the scene. So, no, they are not at war with the Draco Greys and the Anunnaki, but they said we can defeat them because I guess they just want to stay neutral. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Can I that is what King Oban said, and that was prior to Stephen actually meeting him, and that was the reason why.
That's when he was pissed off. Yeah, that's the reason why we had the meeting.
And they had a meeting. So what happened in the meeting was that when Stephen arrived, and I knew nothing about this, okay, the first thing that I'm told from King Oban to Stephen was one king to another. And I'm left there literally like, what? Like, what do you mean one king to another? I'm like, Stephen, is there something you're not telling me? And he, in his old, his self, Stephen, he, of course, he didn't tell me anything. And I'm like, King Oban is saying this is one king to another, and hands him a staff. So there's more to this story with Stephen and Stephen's bloodline, and why these inner earth civilizations would like meetings with him. And I don't know if Stephen wants to share it, but I think you should. It's up to you. I think you should.
Well, yeah. Well, James, the whole, I mean, come on, you know me, right? I mean, a little bit, a little bit about this whole Getty operation, and I don't know if you know about the Jedi, but we're trying to conquer these guys, and under the throne, there's a throne under the Getty, of course, and it's basically it's of the crown, it's the crown's big throne, and they're the guys that control everything because of the Magna Carta, yada yada. But essentially, when I had my big meeting with the Getty guys, they basically told me that I was the one that was yada yada, this and that, the one they were looking for, et cetera, et cetera. But they wanted me to condone their genocide, et cetera, and I said no way. And I decided to go to war with them instead, and that's where we are today. We're in this big war, and so essentially I'm trying to take this thing anyway, and so I'm doing it under the pretense that when this mission is done, and we actually do open Pandora's box, and everybody gets to see what's going on, and we get access to like more money than anybody can even comprehend, and technology people can't comprehend, and we release all the slaves, et cetera, the children, you name it. We'll be able to heal the earth, and we'll be able to essentially bring on this big thing. So yeah, he knows what my intentions are, and if you get to know anybody in my group, Rainetta here just joined, you'll know what my intentions are. So yeah, the point is that you're going to get, it's better to not get an antichrist, okay? That's the thing. It's better to not get an antichrist. They were trying to groom me to play this little role. I know that seems dramatic, but see, this is the whole reason about this is the real crux of the Oban thing, sorry. The thing he gave me, okay? I go, what the heck is this for? What's this supposed to do? And he says, this is going to help you communicate and help you reach out to people who aren't going to listen and aren't going to hear your message. And then, of course, I get this message from Rainetta here that you want to do a part 2 and talk about this stuff. And I thought, okay, well, that's like the first sign that sort of thing is working. So yeah, I mean, I've talked to my guides before, and they basically said the same thing. They said nobody's going to listen. It doesn't matter what you do, nobody's going to listen. And so here comes Oban, and he says, here, this is going to help you get people to listen. But again, like she said, what this was really all about, one king to another and all that, was that he wanted to make sure we didn't mess with his gold. He wanted to make sure that we respected him and his kingdom and his sovereignty in this area of the earth that he is involved in. And to me, I think that's perfectly normal, because for a couple reasons. Rambo's really getting really crazy out there. Well, I would say crazy, but Rambo's really effective, and he's having a big impact on things going on. So sure, Oban's going to want to make sure that the Jedi don't go in there and do anything that mistake them for Anunnaki and stuff, right? And here I am running around thinking this guy's Anunnaki because he's got all this gold. It's like he's right. It's an immature thing for me to say. I'm not going in there. Usually, it's like you listen to what Rainetta said. I'm not going to hand my kingdom over. It's like, no, so yes, things are happening. And part of this show, like we're doing right now, is that, yeah, I'm telling people right now, if I complete my mission, you're going to be dealing with a despot that's going to be basically using this money and technology to make sure that all humans become responsible from that point on so that we can transition. That's just the way it is.
So Stephen, what as far as being royalty, what was the connection to the Getty? Were they trying to turn you into some kind of like leader during this New World Order? That was what they were planning?
Well, it's a little bit more than that. Obviously, as these things gone on over the years, I always was trying to figure out what was really going on. But when I actually had that sit down with the trust fund manager of the Getty, and that was the same night that they figured out who I was, okay? Because up until that point, they thought my brother was me. And that's all happened because we were hooked up to the guy that had been his Templar dude that was being recruited to become the trust fund manager. He was good friends with my brother's buddy, who was an accountant. Anyway, long story short, we ended up having this dinner with my brother and my buddy and this trust fund manager dude, who had already at this point been to Malta and kissed the head of John the Baptist and was a full-time, for real Templar. That's when he turned to me and he realized, he said, "Oh my God, you're the one we've been looking for." And then he turned to my brother and he says, "You're a pale shadow of this guy," and which was crushing for him. But the point was, he told me, he says, they have technology, of course. They've got technology, as you know. They've got jump chairs and access to the Akashic records. But they told me.
Did you actually see the jump rooms under the Getty?
Well, it's in El Segundo. There's a jump room in El Segundo. I mean, what was it? There's a band that was making fun of that stuff. Jared Leto, was it? 30 Seconds to Mars. That's how long it takes. 30 Seconds to Mars. That's the joke.
So you think Jay Leno is in on it? He knows?
Oh, hell yes, he's in on it. His home, Lookout Mountain, is directly connected to the Getty. We know that. I know half. That's another thing that the Jedi do. We go around and find all these houses that are hooked up to this stuff. I mean, I bust these guys. You were talking about Roger Stone earlier, right? And he screwed with me when we were running the QAnon thing on Facebook, and he sent out this big cadre of guys to screw with us, and one of them was it was sort of like a ringmaster. He was connected to Alex Jones. Oh, they were all connected to Alex Jones, but this guy's name was Rick Messina, and he had a home in, remember Terry Joyce? You know Terry Joyce, right? Oh, look at you. You act like you know. Okay, well, if you're out here, you probably met Terry Joyce. But anyway, she was a comedian, and she was involved with this Rick Messina guy because he had this lounge in his home called the Lizard Bar. They actually had a reptile statue in the front of the bar, but they did satanic stuff. They did ritual abortions. They probably killed children in the backyard. It was crazy stuff going on. anyway, they got exposed when they screwed with me because I turned on all the psychics and stuff onto them. I located the tunnel entrances. I located the human remains. I located the tunnel entrance was in the house next door. We found out that that house was actually, the title said it was belonged to someone that was executive for Netflix, but in reality, it was part of a single property owned by this Rick Messina guy. But that guy, he's like the manager for all these people, Drew Carey, you know, all kinds of different, you know, comedians. But yeah, it was all satanic, man. And oh yeah, and that tunnel next door to his house connected directly to the Skirball Center, which is a big Jewish complex. And then that Skirball Center has another tunnel, a bigger tunnel that connects directly to underneath the Getty. And UCLA connects to it, Jared Leto's house, Angelina Jolie's house.
I've got a video. I haven't published it. I snuck into UCLA. They have deep within the complex, there's a radiological room where people are coming in and out of time to use MRI, but there's actually a jump room there. And outside the jump room, the hallway has all these old looking pictures, so nobody really knows what year it is. So they're probably using time travel there too. But yeah.
I'll tell you what I know about UCLA because I actually had a UCLA chemistry professor in my group, and he divulged some stuff. But we already looked at it all with psychics, but this guy actually admitted to a lot of stuff. He says that there's 6 floors of basement under that thing, you know, and the psychics told me that, I mean, UCLA is just right across the street of the Getty, and they have tunnels going back and forth between those two things. And I was told that they had a biological laboratory going on down there where they were making weapons to use against us should we try to get in their tunnels or do whatever. So, yeah, they're really fighting.
UCLA is where a friend of mine, I don't speak to her now anymore, she was microchipped with 200 similar implants, similar technology that's in me, cybernetics, and she has about 200 of them. But she had breast augmentation done, and under the breast implants is where they put the microchips in her body. And I'm not sure if UCLA is where they put the implants in her vagina as well. But they were sued for this, putting technology in women's bodies under their breast augmentation. So they were then known for that. Yeah, I thought that was a little really interesting tidbit.
So how about we go back to King Oban now?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read 2 paragraphs and I'll pause and we can comment about it. Mm-hmm. So King Oban says that he doesn't like the belligerent attitudes and the demandings of, I guess, people here on planet Earth. Mm-hmm. If you are at war with those in war, and like the Americans and the Getty, something about the Getty Museum, I'm not sure.
He's talking to me. That's what it is, yeah.
Okay. We do not kill our own. We do not kill our children. We do not rape our own. We live close to millions of years. We do not practice abortion. We do not rape children. We are not at war. We remain neutral. We do not engage in sacrifice. Sacrifice was brought here from other entities. We can live, I guess us humans can live their age if we can, I guess something about consuming human flesh. I guess that
no. No.
Energy in human flesh. What is that?
I mean, you have to read the sentence, but King Oban does not consume human flesh.
This whole time, everything he's saying here, this is when he's really angry. This is before we had this meeting. It's all good now. Good.
That was smoothed out with Stephen. Yeah. But Stephen, what I want you to talk about was, what was your experience like for me, when I first went there, I dropped through what looked like a black hole, and I went through like this morphological change. Can you like describe how it was going down there?
Yes, yeah, sure. Yeah. Hey, James, have you ever scuba dived before? You go underwater? No?
No.
You never done that? It's kind of like that. Okay, well, video games. You play video games. You ever had a glitch on a video game where you're like underground and you're like, what the hell? And you're looking up. You know, it was kind of like that. Okay, because we were looking at the power station, the substation, and that's the entrance. And I had been focused on that already, and we're doing this thing, and she says, "Okay, we're going to go under the substation." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure." So I go under the substation, and then I'm looking up, and it's like everything's clear. You know, it's like completely clear. It's like if you were in water, it's only you're like in air. And the ground, you don't really see the ground above. It's like a window. But there's that substation that you're underneath. And it's kind of like when you're underwater and you're looking up at a boat. And he says, okay, we're going to go down now. And I'm like, really? Okay. So we're going down, and that little thing's getting small, but still this clear thing. And it reminded me of playing some of these video games, and you have a glitch, you know, and all of a sudden you're inside of a mountain or something like that. It was a lot like that. But then, next thing I know, I see the gold ceiling. Because I'm looking up. I'm watching the substation getting smaller. I'm thinking, okay, this is interesting. And then next thing I say, oh, there's a ceiling. And it's everything shadowy for me. I don't really see everything very clear when I'm doing this full awake stuff. She makes me do this wide awake stuff. And I could see there was like swirly patterns in the gold. And then I noticed there was like these big, huge gems that looked like footballs. You know what I'm saying? Like football size rubies and emeralds and stuff like that. Big, you know, big colored stones.
You want to share the screen, James, while he's talking? I have the substation up.
Look at you. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Okay,
that's
go ahead.
Pretty, under the substation. Anyway, yeah, well, and then, of course, King Oban guy, to me, I know he's tall and all that, but to me, he was just like my head. We were head to head, even though he was sitting there on his little throne or big throne, whatever. He reminded me a lot of the guy that played Xerxes in 300, sort of. Only it was very vague. I couldn't really tell. I mean, I knew more than about what was going on that I was seeing. And then, of course, she was having this conversation, making her introductions, and then she was tripping because he was like, there's all this protocol. She says, well, before you go in there, you got to go through all these steps, and you got to go through all this protocol. And I'm saying, no, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm not going to prostrate myself. And, of course, King Oban, he's like, okay, welcome one king to another. And she's like, what are you talking about? When did that happen? But anyway, yeah. That's a whole other show, man. The whole bloodlines thing and then all that stuff. But I try not to.
I think we need to talk about it, Stephen. No?
Well, I don't. I have to do that. I mean, it's like I just said earlier here in the program that if we conquer the Getty, it's like, here's the thing. It's just do the math. There's out of 8 billion people, one of them comes along after all these years and says, okay, we're going to end it doing this. And then I meet with these Getty guys, and they say, yeah, you're the one that's going to end it. There's no way we can stop it. We can't kill you. We don't know how you're going to do it, but we know you're going to do it. And we only have vague ideas of how you're going to pull it off, and we'd be very interested to know. You know, they've been trying to manage this thing. And when I started doing this whole Getty mission, I was all about guns, really heavy, you know, and lasers and you know, secret weapons and the plasma beam and trying to make stuff, lights that would dissolve, disintegrate, you know, disintegration beams, stuff like that. Anyway, I realized that when I started working with the Getty's guys was right after Flight 800, if you remember that. And I told them, I said, all right, fine, but you're not going to shoot any more airplanes down. They wanted me to help them fight aliens. That was the whole idea. And I said, fine, but you're not going to shoot down any more airplanes. Well, anyway, I realized pretty quick that the only way you're going to fight these aliens is using the psychic stuff. The guns and lasers wasn't going to do it. So I dropped all the laser stuff and went into the whole psychic stuff, and that's when I got turned on to the whole. Eventually I ran into psychics, and they told me all about Rambo. I didn't know anything about Rambo. Rambo's my alter, of course. You know, all these people got alters, and Rambo is like this ridiculous killing machine. But Rambo told me, you know, dealing with psychics and things, and I've heard this through so many different psychics, but he told me he was from the 8th density. He was an 8th density entity, and on the density level, that's supposed to be like Holy Spirit. But it makes sense, because if you're battling demons, whatever, it seems to me that it's only logical that the Creator would send, you know, Creator's level 9, he would send somebody from level 8 to deal with somebody from level 6 or 7, if you will. Okay? It's just one of those things. I don't try to really, I just do my job, and of course, that's like a forever. That's an eternity thing. That's what I recruit people. I recruit Jedi. I figured out a way to basically borrow people's souls, for eternity, and have them as fighters in this whole Jedi business. And that's what we're doing. And we've got a whole bunch of them now. And Rambo, of course, is the commander, if you will, whatever. And he.
So what do you mean by you actually creating Jedis? Is this like some training? You have like
actually, it's a
dojo?
trick. It's a trick. I'll tell you how it's done. I mean, first of all, when we started doing this whole business with this actually attacking the Getty, okay, that was all freelancers. That was guys who were all experienced, either military trained or just guys from different parts of the world who just happened to be really gifted and could do this stuff. And I had been collecting these people for quite a few years, so to speak, collecting psychics, if you will. And we all kind of snapped at the same time. And here's the thing, it's like when you're dealing with this whole 4D business, the time, what you perceive as time, isn't the same as what we deal with on the 3D. So in other words, you could pop into a battle and you're from the future, you're from the past, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really apply in that area. So basically what happened was one night, it was in November, something like 5 years ago, I think, we were all getting really frustrated because up to that point, we were doing negotiations with these guys under the Getty, basically saying, look, you gotta stop doing these things, you gotta, let these children go, et cetera, et cetera. And they're like, you're nobody, you're nothing, we're so much stronger than you, we don't deal with terrorists, yada yada. They still say that, but basically that's when they had all their monsters, and that's when we really couldn't do anything because we hadn't figured out how to get through all the doors and all the levels. Okay, when you go to, you could look at this stuff, right? You could see it, but you can't, if you're going to interact with the entities, you got to go through the doors and you got to, it's like, it's like, for instance, a door is going to open on, the lock is going to apply to more than just one density. It's not going to be like our 3D. The lock that stops at 3D may not, it's going to have a lock that has to be done in the 4D or the 5D and the 6D. That's kind of thing. Because it's like it's all the same thing. It shares the same space, basically.
Okay, Stephen, let's let Rainetta Jones, let's let her share what she wants to, what's going on here in Google Earth.
Yeah. So one of the reasons, this area here is Eastern Main Road, and they call this the junction. And to the left, right behind the trees, the electrical substation. Now, what I find interesting is like right behind that is what they call the Caroni River. Okay, and there is a Caroni River in South America as well. And I believe that Caroni River, especially underneath, is where that civilization part of it is, going up into the north where we found those pyramids. So I wanted to kind of show the guys that. And the reason why Stephen is important for me, and he's someone to consider when you're talking about El Dorado, is because he is an expert when it comes to metals, gold and silver, and this is a gold kingdom. And he helped me to understand, because I was trying to figure out, like, how does this gold have life? What's giving it life? And the only thing I can come up with is that it has some sort of electrical conduit, because that's what I believe gives life, And the reason why Stephen, I think, is important is because of his background and his understanding of metals and jewels, metals, and the different ways they use metals. Also, what I found interesting was that, these kingdoms, these inner earth kingdoms, they have a sort of hierarchy. And I spent my life after the UN literally running away from the rulers. Can you guys hear me? I spent my life literally after the UN. I was like, I don't want anything to do with this. I spent my life like running away from these leaders, And I found it funny that I ran into Stephen, and I'm like, oh my God, I've just spent my whole life running away from these rulers and just run straight into this guy. when King Oban is like one king to another. And I'm like, Stephen, you could have told me, and one thing about these, this is something I'm going to say, like Stephen is not into pre-flood blood. And I emphasized to him, I said, well, you're talking to someone with pre-flood blood.
No, pre-flood blood.
Yeah, I mean, that's what these
As long as
civilizations
you're not
are.
having sex with chickens and eating babies, it's all good.
Yeah, that's true. Well, okay, I get it. Because I'm like, a lot of people who, who have religious ideologies, they're just
This
like,
is
oh
why
my
he
God,
was saying,
pre-flood.
this is why King Oban got so upset and said, we
Yeah,
don't eat our babies, we don't do this. Putin did
yeah,
the same thing. Look at that speech that
yeah,
Putin just made. He
yeah,
said the same
that's true.
thing.
That's true.
He said the West was all about pedophilia and
And
offering
then
up our
and
children.
then let me read out a little bit more about this. King Oban says that we are warmongers. That is not our way. We believe in life. We do not practice death. We believe in higher spiritual consciousness. We do not believe in war and domination. Your behavior is domination. We do not exercise a doctrine of war. Your nature, too, is warlike and dominant. You want to dominate and control what is not yours. You do not use spiritual technology to travel when you are warlike. Physical technology is a weaker form of technology. Bombs, tanks, submarines, satellites, ships. This is inferior. We use this to compensate for a loss of spirit. We do not need technology. We use our spirit to do everything, including travel, and we will fight you with our spirits. You have much to learn.
Well, and this is, let me interject, Stephen. This is where Stephen also came in because, and I'm not trying to cut you off, but I thought it was fascinating because I didn't realize that Stephen was using spirit. And one of the things with King Oban, and this wasn't, that part of the comment was not to King Oban, that was to the tyrants. He called.
He was connecting me to the everybody else.
No. That part, that part, that he was done after he said what he said, earlier. He was done, but he was talking about the nature of what controls Earth, and he was explaining why the Earth is devolving, and he was explaining that technology is not advancement. Technology is actually a devolution because it moves away from spirit, and to him, spiritual technology is far more advanced than physical hardware. And that is what I found very interesting as to why he wanted a treaty with Stephen, because Stephen works with spirit. So, Stephen.
But he knows that we're not going to mess with him. It's agreed, and we know there's an understanding. It's all about respect, okay? It was that whole king to king thing. Obviously, this guy's a king. He's been a king for a long time. There are ancient people, pre-flood and all that. They've got all the secrets. They've got the ability. They're peaceful. They don't want to hurt anybody, and then along come us thinking that we're going to take over. And he didn't understand, with all their ancient everything, he thinks, oh, here comes another guy trying to take over the world, which is what I'm trying to do. That's the whole purpose of saying this. And he was recognizing me as somebody that's actually trying to do this, Johnny-come-lately dude trying to take over the world. And he said, don't blame me for all this stuff. We're good. And so by the time we actually had this meeting, like she said, like you could hear by what I'm not privy to all these things that he said. He was going after us as a culture, as an immature, irresponsible bunch of savages that we are. But at the same time, he was linking me in there just like I was linking him to the Anunnaki and all their crimes. So we were both being a little blustery. But when we had our little meeting, it was like, bro, it's all good. I understand. Sorry about that. It's cool. That was kind of the way it worked. And she's like, what the hell? I'm having this conversation with this dude, and it's like, yeah, okay, I understand. I got it. You don't have to have a lot of words involved because it's all psychic, I mean, it's impressions and intentions.
Well, let's continue on here because we still got a little bit more here. So King Oban says you must go and elevate your spirit upward. Pursuit of physical technology was put here by the Anunnaki and Draco to limit you because they lack spirit. We do not need craft. We use our spirit. We use frequency. You need technology to travel. We don't. You are inferior. Who does one who loves bloodshed consider himself superior than one who loves peace? Your ways are inferior. You lack spirit. You are warlike. The message is, so you love to dominate. Understand why technology was created, because they lack spirit. You create spaceships because you no longer have the ability to spiritual density to travel to the stars. You create guns to kill because you don't have spirit to communicate to the person in their mind, and they don't understand what they are coming from. We tune into everything to understand it. Why do you kill your children? You do so because you have no spirit. Why do you enslave everything? Because you have no spirit. They are enslaved and will be enslaved. You can live 1,000,000 years in slavery, but we pursue spirit. Not, yeah, okay.
Okay, so let's break that down. So again, spirit is not just what animates the body for them, right? Spirit is literally their religion,
And spirit, STO. He's STO basically.
Yeah.
As opposed to STS.
Yeah.
He didn't like being compared or mistaken for an STS entity, which does all these things, and he's trying, so he basically falls into the service. Near as we can tell, I mean, right? We got this little treaty going on. He is a service to others entity, and he looks like a human. He's been around for a long time, so he's an Earth human. He's one that's been here a long time, and he has every right to be treated with all respect as any other human, because that's what it's all about, right?
And one of the interesting things about him and their kingdom is that, and this is what the vibration, the tuning that I kept getting from them, is that El Dorado exists in 2 dimensions. Now, I'm not a physicist, but I'm going to try to explain it, right? If you are corrupt, if your spirit is corrupt, you cannot find El Dorado. Okay? It'll be right in front of you. You can't find it. You won't see it. If your spirit is, if your spirit is pure, you can find it. You can see it, right? So that's something that was impressed upon me with their frequency. The second thing that I found interesting was that was impressed upon my spirit was that they want to bring El Dorado from the unseen into the seen. And what they're doing on surface level Earth, and this is why on Friday, I'm like, we're astrally traveling there, is because he wants El Dorado in the minds of the people, and he wants to elevate the people vibrationally. And that was the reason why he said what he said. He said, you're too warlike and you're pulling down the entire planet with you, and it's going to affect all of us. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to raise the vibration of the people of planet Earth in order for El Dorado to come from the unseen to the seen. The other thing that he said was that he said all over the planet, we're going to start releasing the gold. Meaning people are going to find the gold everywhere. Okay, now it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to find the living gold, but they're going to start finding mountains of gold under the oceans. I mean, everywhere. He said that's one of the things we're going to start to do to trigger El Dorado's rising. And I thought that, Stephen would play a role in understanding that whole.
He's very anti-Nazi.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't like Nazis.
And the Nazis were a division of the Vatican, and the Vatican has been sending their agents there for eons to try to get access to the living gold, because they want the power. They want to use it to have power over the people. It's like,
it's all about this living a long time, and he wants us to be able to live a long time. But at the same time, he doesn't want us to be a bunch of savages, warlike savages. We need to be responsible. We also have to control our breeding, obviously, but mainly, he didn't want these Nazis to get it because he didn't want Nazis basically living forever. He's like, that's what the Nazis are trying to do. They're trying to find this stuff so that they can live a long time. That's what he doesn't want. He doesn't want those guys living a long time. He wants us to have it under the conditions that we are, culturally not savages, of course, but to them, it's like being savages is being like Nazis. They equate the bad guys with Nazis. Like the Nazis are responsible for making us that way.
Okay, well, I've got some more information about the living gold and all that, but I just want to get to this 2 paragraphs here. I'm hoping Rainetta can come back, but The waistband that they wear is for spiritual and physical purpose. The spiritual purpose is so we can see you as family, so you can be identified as one of us. The second purpose is to stabilize your strength, so while you're here, you will not be weakened in the forces inside the earth due to different gases and elements. This keeps your body, and weakened in there. But we see you as family, but some of us see us as enemy. Your war is with the Getty, not my kingdom, is what he said.
He's talking to me. I can't. These are these generalizations. He's lumping me in with all the bad guys, just like I was doing with him. I was lumping him in with all the bad guys, and he was ticked, and that's why it sounds like this, because he's kind of returning the favor.
What's also beautiful is that Stephen proved that you can go there.
Yeah, it wasn't that hard to do, but some people who are better at this stuff could probably see the details better. For me, everything's really shadowy, but you could see, you can perceive what's going on, and this is how he kind of hands this thing out. He says, "Here you go," kind of like that. To me, though, it looked like he was handing me a little gold thing that looked like a flying saucer. That's what I see, a little disc like, what the heck is this thing supposed to do? And she's like, "Oh, he's handing you a staff or something." Like, it looks like a disc to me.
Yeah, I saw him give him two things, but Stephen only mentioned like one. I saw him give him like a crystal.
One thing in one hand and one thing in the other. I'm kind of focused on the little disc thing. It looked like a little.
Yeah. I saw him give him, it looked like a diamond encrusted orb. And then the next one was a staff. And it's so funny because we both saw him. He handed him the staff like this, like from here. Okay, I'm left-handed.
Okay.
Like
he's sort of like I told her it was like somebody throwing a frisbee. Like
exactly. I saw the same thing, but I saw the diamond encrusted orb. Yeah. Did you see that?
No, I just saw this thing. I could barely tell what color it was. To me, it just looked like a little UFO looking thing. Yeah. You talk for a second. I'm going to go run.
Yeah. No problem. So it's like. The reason why, and that's James's gift. James's gift was a necklace with some type of ancient writing system. I mean, I don't know if I wrote it correctly, but that's some of the symbols I remember seeing on the pendant.
Sumerian, like Sanskrit.
Yeah, right. And I mean, I don't know what it means, but I tried to illustrate as much as possible what I saw. And that's what I saw come through. Funny enough, there was a craft that I had a dream about later, and some of the similar symbols was on that craft, but not the same, but kind of similar. But yeah, James's gift was a pendant, and James's gift gave him access to El Dorado. Whereas Stephen's gift was more like I'm not, this is what he said. He was like, this is one king to another for you to carry out your mission. So James was accepted there. And one of the things, in order to be accepted there, they have very stringent protocols on people's behavior. And they can tell when your spirit is corrupt. And we are going to go there this Friday. 7 to 9 p.m. astrally traveling. We're going to go there. But before we go, I'm literally going to lead everyone in a purification like 15, 20 minutes before we get there, because they're very stringent on the purity of the people's spirit. Okay, that's important to them, and that is what allows them to live forever. So there is something in the spirit realm, something in the universe that allows the person to live a long period of time when they're not corrupt. So that's something people have to understand. The less corruption you have in your spirit, the more you keep your spirit pure, the longer you can live. And that's something they're not telling us. And when we say purity, we're talking about things like greed. We're talking about things like envy. We're talking about things like, hatred, malice, just like really cruel, wicked spirit, This whole concept of spiritual purity literally allowed them, combined with this liquid gold. And I hope Stephen might be better at explaining what he thinks this liquid gold is and how it operates and what gives it sentience. But purity, along with the gold, is what allows them to live like literally close to 1 million years, or a little bit over 1 million years. So, Stephen, what do you think? As an expert in these types of metals, what do you think this gold is?
It's probably a combination of this living water and monoatomic gold.
Even though it's gold, gold. It's not white gold. It's gold.
Monoatomic gold is still gold. It's ions.
Yeah, it is.
And it's
So
liquid
basically-
too, so you can drink it.
Yeah.
And it looks like gold.
So it's like a solution. So maybe
Hmm.
it's the ions, the gold ions, that make this stuff so thick. Probably a lot of it. It's sort of like
But what gives it
water and
sentience?
banana.
Because to me, it didn't look like Ormus.
Well, kind of works the same way. I mean, we don't know these things, but obviously the gold, I would expect that even in an ion form, the gold has still got some sort of crystalline ability. I mean, because you gotta, the water has. Here's the thing that we probably don't understand. If you want to get technical about it, we know that a structured water, when all the H2O has created all its hydrogen bonds, it creates this tetrahedral structure. Now it's possible a lot of crystals will form a somewhat of a tetrahedral structure. I know what silver does. I know what other chemicals do. I'm not sure what the structure of the gold looks like, but I suspect that when you combine the structured water with some sort of a monoatomic gold thing, where the gold somehow has the ability to get involved with the structured water, maybe not necessarily connected directly to the the molecules, but within the structure. In other words, the tetrahedral structure creates a lattice which forms helical tubes, if you will, going in opposite directions, actually going in 3 directions. And we know that DNA travels in a helix, and we know that energy travels in a helix, and light travels in a helix, and yada yada. So basically everything travels in this helix. And so this is where the tetrahedral structure comes in, because this helical ambient energy, or whatever it is it's processing, is held inside these channels. It's sort of like a sponge, only everything's a helix. And here's the thing, though, is that just like the DNA, you've got a male and a female helix. You've got one going up, one going down. And this is very key, because this stuff is it's just like the electromagnetic spectrum and scalar. Everything is going back and forth in an orthogonal infinite loop. Everything's a circle ultimately. So yeah, this is why this stuff all works. So basically, as the energy passes through this stuff, it holds that information. Like, for instance, here's where the living water part comes in. I'll just share this with you, because why not? The Bilderbergers wanted to kill me for this very stuff. So let me share one of the reasons why the Bilderbergers wanted to kill me. But we were messing around. Jerry Avalos and Thunder and those guys, right? You remember that? Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, Carrie Cassidy. Oh, my God, what a story. Okay, well, we were messing around with scalar. I don't know if you remember that stuff, when we were doing that. I'm sure you do. Anyway, the big thing was that I figured out that you could program a solid-state laser, which uses a laser media, which is crystalline, with a scalar program, and we did it, and it worked. And this is why they really wanted to kill me. But the point is that the crystalline structure is this tetrahedral structure that I'm telling you about. So the scalar, so in other words, it's going to hold the scalar program, and the gold probably allows this to interact with the body in some way, your soul, or some nature. There's all kinds of weird stuff out there involved in this whole connection between the 4D and the 3D. And so the gold probably plays a role, but who knows? But so the point is that this living water, essentially, or this gold, monatomic gold, water, intelligent water combination, could possibly be like a medium that could contain scalar information that could hold the intention to do these things. In other words, what we perceive as like something making you younger or something that allows you to go to different places or something like that, what this really is it's holding the intention. So in other words, when you interact with this stuff, it allows you to do instantaneous manifestation, right? You can, in other words, it allows you to create reality. So if the intention is to live forever or be wealthy or go to the stars and all these things, commune with the spirits, it's going to give you the ability to do that. Because the intention's there. It's just like, okay, when we make Reiki, we didn't tell you how I make the Jedi. It's Reiki. I use Reiki because instead of having to rely on people who are trained by the military or just gifted, people who generally want to do this, that don't have any skills whatsoever, but they've got a soul, they've got a perfectly good soul, they just don't know how to put it to work, right?
Right.
So all they got to do is give me permission. And by give me permission, of course, it's give Jesus permission. You know, you got it. Because Jesus is our boss, basically. Jesus is our boss. Whatever, it's not a religion thing, but he's just the boss. He's like the guy that runs the good guys. You know, he's our liaison to Source. He's our big commander. Rambo, of course, technically he's above that level, but I say Jesus is the big boss. Anyway, what I do when I recruit a Jedi, once they've made a vow, and they say they want to be a warrior, and thank you for letting them be a warrior, and they're saying this to Jesus, of course, I do a kind of like a master Reiki initiation. You know anything about Reiki, James? You know anything about that? Okay, are you a Reiki master or anything like that?
I want to show you something. Jerry Avalos, back in the day, that was from Project Camelot's Awaken Aware conference in 2011. I think we actually met up then too. I think you were there.
Oh yeah, that's right. Was it that one? You weren't at the first one when I came out in 2012, were you?
Yeah, I was there too. I probably can find a picture.
Oh, is this from the Henderson show?
This is the one in it was in California, so in Orange County.
The infamous Henderson show. Oh my God!
I'll try to find one for that. But yes, I'm aware. I am Reiki 1, but I haven't used it in years, so I don't really feel qualified to do it.
Well, if you're not a Reiki 3, you can't really do it. But I'm like a Reiki 6. But anyway, you're not supposed to do this, and trust me, I did this. I had to come up with a way of doing this for people that wouldn't be something that they could actually use. In other words, I'm going to let their soul, I'm going to use their soul, but I'm not going to use their body, because the first thing that happened, I did it to this guy, you probably know him, Rigo, maybe you've heard of him. Anyway, he lives in New Zealand or something. First thing that happens, I do this initiation on him, give him like a Reiki master initiation, and the next thing, the NSA gets him and they screwed with him, basically. They totally screwed him, and it's like, okay, forget that, because he abused it. He's like, oh, I've got this newfound skills, I'm just going to go run amok, and then first thing happens, the NSA gets involved. So basically what I do is I use this thing where I give these people this, the first thing I do is I kind of bring them in, then I do a long-distance hookup, then I do an emotional cleaning, which is important, obviously, because they've got baggage. I do that. I take care of that. And then I do a master initiation, okay? Like, I give them master skills, and then I end it, you know. But the thing is that, again, I do it with the intention that they're not going to be able to really use it in real time. I mean, there are people that go through this initiation, right, and they've got this newfound charisma, they're better, they're more psychic, they got some healing skills, yada yada. And that's great. If you're going to go down that path, it's awesome. But as far as becoming a Jedi, you don't have to have any skills. You may, like these, I talk to these new Jedi, they always tell me the same thing, like, oh gosh, I didn't get any sleep, or I woke up sore. What did we do last night? But you know what I mean? There's a little bit of physical. You don't get hurt, you don't get killed, but you do. It's like being in the military. You're walking huge amounts. You know what this is like, right? I'm talking about. It's like you wake up in the morning. It's like, oh my God, I must have been walking 100 miles or something. Or, you know, it's the same thing over and over. Or somebody, you get hurt, something sore. You know, you get hurt somewhere, and then you're sore for a while. It's not for me so much. I don't really have to go. But a lot of the people who join, they're new at this stuff. Even big guys. I get a lot of military guys. They join, and they'll wake up and they'll say, "Oh wow, I'm sore every morning, but I love it," kind of thing. So yeah, that's how that works, and it's wonderful because nobody remembers anything. Everybody shows up where they're supposed to be, no matter what. You can't quit. We only get bigger. We don't get smaller. You can't kill us. And the only real benefit of becoming a Jedi is you get your name written on a wall in heaven, so I'm told, which is supposed to be a big deal. And what else? You get to do this forever. Well, not really forever. It's like a Big Bang kind of thing. But what else? Well, I don't know. Rainetta, you tell me. What's it like dealing with somebody? You deal with? Oh, yeah, here she is. Okay. You want to tell us about her? Come on, man. That's at the damn. Oh, what a picture! Hey, is that Jerry over there? Look, there's Jerry, right on behind Raven, Soul, whatever her name is.
Solara.
Solar.
Solaris, I think.
Solaris.
Blue Raven.
Okay, I gotta explain this picture. First of all, I was actually her bodyguard. Did you know that, James?
No.
Oh,
she was being targeted or something by a band.
Oh my gosh, James! I gotta tell you my version of what happened at that event. You guys never heard my version. Anyway, yeah, she was the one that was running this event. All right, I'm just gonna be blunt here. She was on the surface. She was the boss, but as we all found out, Michael Aquino was the real boss. And there was a system. The money came down from the Bilderbergers, and it went to Michael Aquino, and then from there it went to people like Carrie Cassidy, and eventually made its way down to people like her, and she fed it to people like Douglas Dietrich, etc. It just went down, 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 just like craziness. I was oblivious to all this stuff. I didn't know anything, but I did provide some security. I didn't have a gun in this picture because we're in a casino. I should have brought a damn gun. If I brought a damn gun, we would not have been. Well, maybe I would not have been. Did you get abducted that night? I'm sure they must have taken you too, right? There she is.
Mass MyLab abduction.
The mass MyLab abduction, yeah.
Sorry, Rainetta, we're going on a tangent here, but this is very important.
Right?
No, I'm enjoying this. Go ahead. I'm in the back listening.
All right, they went and abducted half the people at this event, speakers, and a couple of the people that were working the event were involved in the damn thing. Max Spears and his buddy Casbolt. Anyway, Max Spears, of course, is dead now, and Casbolt lost his wife and family and spent some time in jail. But I'll tell you, here's the thing, though. I told you I was security for, what's her name there, and there was guys there that I was actually, I didn't know who her enemies were, but we did run into them. We'd be going from to the buffet. Some guy would come up and he'd kind of threaten her a little bit. There he is. Oh my God. Hellpan, she's related to a very notorious genocidal communist. I should mention that Hellpan. The guy, there's a Hellpan, a Marxist Hellpan. Anyway, but no, the point I'm trying to make is that the guys that screwed with her at that show are dead now. I don't even know who they were, but all I do know is that they died after that event. So,
oh, wow.
And who else died? There was at least 5 people from that event that died.
Max Spears is gone.
Max Spears. Obviously, Michael Aquino's dead. There was another guy. He called himself former White Hat. Remember him?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, he died. He was a jerk. The lighting was terrible at that place.
They've torn this. They tore this casino down, the Fiesta, wow. And yeah, it's gone now.
Something better, I hope. They had to get rid of evidence.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow, must have been a heavy night.
Some of the people that had to break the doors. Remember, what was it? What's her name? Her door got broken, right?
I've got a picture of it. You want to see it?
Yeah.
Who broke her door?
Well, they didn't. They couldn't get in for whatever reason, so they ended up breaking her door. what was it? Anyway, they didn't break my door because I was sleeping with a couple other guys. I think they opened the damn door and let those bastards take me.
Oh,
to be honest with you, I'm kind of not too happy.
that
about
reminded me of a trip to Little Alien that ended up in Area 51 in Tonopah.
Yeah, fun times. Huh?
No, I didn't go in that hotel, so nothing happened.
This
And
picture
a
got me in
scorpion,
trouble.
the hotel I was gonna stay in, a scorpion came out of nowhere, and that was my warning.
Those are fun times, huh? Huh, James? Fun times.
Yeah. Okay, here
Oh,
it is. Remember that? The lock.
Oh,
supposedly,
that was Aaron's room, I think, wasn't it?
I don't know. And we had the Men in Black guy there. He was, I don't know. He was very disruptive. I went to his house. He abused his animals. I decided I'd purge everything any contact with him.
Oh my God, he abused his animals.
Yeah, he had a bunch of pit bulls that he was keeping in a cage outside, but he had some of them inside. But they would get super excited when he come home because they wanted to play or whatever, and he would beat them down. Told them, to calm down. But the way he did it was really nasty. So I decided to. Unfortunately, I can't take 5 pit bulls home with me. But those poor animals, yeah, whatever.
These people are weirdos. I mean, they really are.
I'm so sorry for this direction here, memory lane. Shall we?
I don't mind at all. I don't mind at all. But here's another thing I wanted to bring up. I had to move the lighting because it was in my eye. Another thing I wanted to bring up was I don't know if Stephen wanted me to talk about this, but he has a contract, an agreement with the Queen of the Sea.
Pending.
No.
She's acting like it's an agreement written in stone already. No, it's not. It's all
Okay, pending.
It's pending.
Okay, it's pending.
But she had the same issue though, because she was all, no, I'm not this, I'm not that. Don't call me that. Don't blame me for this. Blah blah blah. She's another one of these entities that has been tarnished and blamed for all kinds of stuff that they don't want to take the rap for, and so. This is part of the process, because even like dealing with the Nazis, you end up having to go into like Middle Earth and dealing with. You don't want to get involved in all this politics, but you don't want to have to chase these guys into these other places either.
Yeah, what's interesting is that James's expertise is more like out in space, and Stephen. I'm new to this, and Stephen's expertise is inner Earth. So I'm kind of new to this. And one of the things that, both King Oban and what we call Mamiwata, which is ISIS on the surface, one of the things that they in particular ISIS wanted me to know and wanted Stephen to know was that everything you've been taught about ISIS is nothing but corruption. And that corruption, the reason for that corruption was to literally erase the female deities from off the planet. You see what I'm saying?
But let me just interject, because I know we still go back and forth on this stuff, and I just so I can help her understand how I feel. First of all, King Oban is not this other person. This other person is like a whole other ball game, if you will. And this whole idea of having to deal with these guys face to face, wide awake and all that, that's because that's all the diplomacy thing, because Rambo doesn't do diplomacy, but at the same time, she kind of wanted like a blanket deal, kind of like King Oban. He was all, yeah, okay, sure, it's all good. I'm not worried about it, because if there was some issue going on, I'm believing everything he says at face value. If there was an issue, Rambo would tell me otherwise. You wouldn't be able to hide it. But same thing with these other guys. You can't just, okay, I'm going to promise you this and this without really seeing any kind of real proof. Yeah. So I basically said, this is all going to be contingent on certain things.
I'm listening.
Well, what I wanted to be contingent on. I had to see. I wanted help. Okay, I wanted some assistance, and I wanted an action of good faith that was going to show me or support her position and her her policies, so to speak. And then of course, you can't get anything past Rambo anyway, so you can tell me whatever you want, but in the end, it's Rambo's going to crucify you if you're bullshitting me.
Right.
Pardon the French.
Right. I on the other hand think that these female deities have been vilified by the Dracos, and the Dracos control religion on Earth. And one of the first things they did is they went to war with these female kingdoms to destroy them. And then after they, whatever they won, they got the surface of the planet, they began a campaign of literally corrupting the knowledge of these female deities, of which I am related to.
Oh yeah, that was one of the things I told her right away, huh? When I was trying to figure out, she's like, "Why are they screwing with me? Why have they been screwing me for so long? What's going on? What's going on here?" And I'm like, "You seem to have some kind of a royalty thing going on here." She's like, "Why are they doing this?" I'm like, "Well, they seem to like you." So what do they like me for? I'm like, "Well, I think you got some kind of a royalty thing going on here."
So Rainetta, what deity are you connected to? Can you tell us?
In the African tradition, she's called Mami Wata. Above ground, in the Greek tradition, she's called Isis. Okay? In what you call Egypt, she's called Auset. In the Middle East, the Sumerians, they call her Ishtar. Okay? But Stephen is at war with Lilith, and this is where Stephen and I clash, because the female deities that's African, like this corruption that you hear, it's not in their tradition. Now, when people in West Africa do rituals for money, okay, they encounter a corrupted female entity. They do. And the female entity gives them money and pleasure and this and that and the other. But when it comes to Mami Wata, that's a whole different tradition. And that's where Stephen and I clash.
Well, ultimately, there's negotiation still. There's negotiation with Lilith is like the final boss, so to speak. But if you're familiar with the Gnostic religion, you'll know that to them, there's this dual polarity thing, and the female character, Sophia, of course, is the mother of Lilith, I believe. Yeah. So in other words, if you look at all the various different myths or Christ-centered religious stuff, Judeo-Christian stuff, often you could replace Lucifer with a female, you could replace Satan with a female, but at the same time, you've got this mother-daughter thing, and the Gnostics refer to it as Earth and all of our realms, these lower-level realms were actually created by an imperfect creator who you could assume is actually Satan or Lucifer, but indeed is actually a female character, Sophia, right? Or is it Sophia or Lilith that gives birth to all this stuff?
Yeah.
One of those two. It's very mixed up because the different...
Sophia gave birth, but Sophia was raped. Yeah. It wasn't Sophia's fault. She was raped, and in fact, she was raped by Yahweh.
We've heard that before, huh?
Well, Yahweh is the name that the Jews gave to God, but it's named after a donkey, with the sound a donkey makes. Unless you're talking about Jehovah. Now, Jehovah is probably a Draco.
Which is a Draco.
Same thing. It's a satanic. It's actually a satanic entity.
And
it's the imperfect creator.
This is why they stamped out the Gnostics, because the Gnostics spoke the truth about who Jehovah or Yahweh was, and Yahweh to the Gnostics was the devil. Look at the Old Testament. Yahweh was the one that introduced the first bloodshed on the planet. People think the first bloodshed on the planet was killing of humans. No, it was killing of animals.
That's why we had the flood. That's why we had the Book of Enoch. They talk about that in the Book of Enoch. The horrible crimes that were being committed against the animals, especially the chickens. The fowl. And if you were having sex with fowl.
And if you look at the original translations of the Bible with Cain and Abel, the way it's actually God describes the sacrifice of the animals is almost like an arousal or erection of this meat. So that makes me think that this God or whatever it was probably a Draco, and
It
not
was,
yeah. But
and the whole not
African
looking at the face.
image is the same.
that's
One of the things King Oban wanted me to see was his face. I mean, I couldn't stare at it for too long, but he wanted me to see his face. But one of the traditions of the Dracos is that you can't stare at them in their face. And when you read the Old Testament, you cannot look Yahweh in the face. The other thing is when you look at the ritual regarding Yahweh's sacrifice, Yahweh tells them precisely how the sacrifice is done. You kill the animals in a specific way, and you got the animal removing the intestines. It's the intestines and the fat that Yahweh wants. Now, why does this allude to a Draco style of worship? It's because the Dracos like intestines and fat. And we have an organ harvesting problem on this planet, and people are not linking that back to Yahweh. Yeah.
or what about Moloch?
Same garbage. They're the same bunch of
Represents
Dracos.
another female entity. Okay, the Canaanite mythology, the Baal El had a thing for having sex with animals, of course, and he particularly liked calves, and so there was this one female deity. I don't remember what her name. You have to go back and read up the Babylonian stuff, and she wanted to have sex with him. So she saw him sleeping under a tree. So she turned herself into this beautiful calf, and he woke up from his nap and saw this calf, and the first thing he had to do was have sex with it. And this is how she tricked him into having sex with her. So this is where the whole golden calf thing comes from. And again, they take this female character and make her male, right? And that's why you see not the Moloch, but the Baphomet.
Yeah.
Looks like an animal head. But it's a female. But
Can I tell you something about Trinidad? If you go to Trinidad in the bush and they tell you not to walk in the bush late at night, because there's something known as a Laja Bless or Laja Bless. Okay, she's literally a woman with the feet of a cow, and she lures men with her perfume. She lures them to their death. Laja Bless. I'm gonna write it down in the comments.
Is that like a minotaur?
Yeah, well, a minotaur is not a cow, right?
She has udders.
More like a bull.
A bull. Well, no, she has like cow hooves or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, same thing. I'll spell the name. Laja.
Going on now.
Okay, well,
all right.
So I still got some more to read here, so I'm almost done. To just go ahead and move on to. Okay. All right, so King Oban says the queen desired to be returned. So basically, his wife died. The queen of El Dorado has died. So she probably, I don't know, maybe old age, but I mean, she was almost 1,000,000 years old.
Yeah.
So the queen desired to be returned back to the elements. This is the transformation of the elemental state of matter.
Yeah.
She gets reabsorbed back into the air. She is here. However, she is also an elemental state.
Yeah.
She lived 1,000,000 years. You can choose to live in elemental or be reborn here again. We do not use technology to re-age ourselves. Once you remove your number system and change to a wave system. Oh, wait. I guess that goes back to the time thing.
Yeah.
The physical body can change on its own. The limitations were put there because of corrupting forces that came here. The corrupted human genome is violent and bloodthirsty. Numbers can limit how long a thing can last. So that's, I guess, we were discussing about nature of time. And
yeah, like how she died and the fact that they go back to the elements. Like they literally become air, water, land. They literally go back to an elemental atomized state. And he was saying that the number system and the reason why they live so long is because they don't live on a number system. They live on a wave system. So what do you think about that, Stephen? You think you think numbers is witchcraft binding us and shortening our lives?
No. We talked about this at great length, I think, because basically it's trying to understand the electromagnetic spectrum. It's like we do. We don't use machines and spaceships and stuff. It's all psychic stuff, which is the same thing. And the psychic stuff is scalar, and scalar is basically the electromagnetic spectrum. So when he says waves, it's basically utilizing because basically all creation is on this spectrum somewhere. And if you, like, for instance, that's kind of like the way the beam ships work. I know that's technology, and but at the same time, being able to understand the nature of matter and how it can be converted into energy and back and forth is the ability to understand these waves, or these frequencies. It's essentially what it is it's sine waves. So when they say we're talking about frequencies, we're talking about waves. They're talking about basically how to take a wave, a sine wave, and configure it in such a way to represent a aspect of reality that they wish to create. And that's where scalar comes in. That's where manifestation or magic. It's all kind of the same thing. See, so that's what they're doing. Obviously, the human brain has the capability of generating enormously complex sine waves. To us, we're just thinking of a picture in our head, but if you tried to reproduce that, it's very complex. It's just like your body and everything that makes you, including your experiences and your cellular memory and everything else. You could represent that as a squiggly line that has every little aspect of you, and that's just a blueprint, but that's what your soul contains, this information. So if you can basically analyze this information, harness it, and recreate it, including the environment around you, your beam ship, whatever it is. You can do anything. You can go anywhere, any dimension, any time, any place, whatever. Any density, for that matter. Well, you can't go to the very highest level. I don't suspect you could take your beam ship up to, say, level 7 or something. Maybe level 6, I suppose, right? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I just thought it was really intriguing that he was saying that numbers is witchcraft.
It's Satan's domain. It's the physical.
That makes sense.
So the Anunnaki gave us numbers
so
that we would
shorten our lifespan.
We would not understand the concept of time. It would be sequential to the point where it would make us age early. But the way they perceive time, as in waves and set points on this wave, and I guess they could probably go back in time based on what you were.
They can travel anywhere in time.
Yeah. Okay.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Any dimension.
They can literally, and that's what allows them to live. I mean, the million years is Earth time. He didn't talk about time anywhere else because they don't.
Moving.
Huh?
You're not aging because your clock's not moving.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, there's no clock.
There's no clock.
Because you can go anywhere. And that explains what I'm trying to understand is, okay, so if they live with this wave, why are they only in 2 dimensions? Because he mentioned that the water kingdom, they exist in 4 dimensions.
That's the STO and the STS. Because they're operating in the 4D, see?
Oh.
So in 4D is where the STO and the STS separates. So like in our 3D, the STO and the STS are side by side.
That's service to self and service to others.
Right, and that's the yin and yang. So, in other words, in this
duality,
level,
polarity.
It's a dual. Yeah, that's a polarity system. The people that want to be served need to have somebody to serve them. But at the same time, when you transition to the level 4, you basically pick sides. So, in other words, if you're say like you transition to level 4 and you're still stuck in the service to self, your reality, you're not going to. Your reality will not include the reality of the people that chose the service to others.
Yeah, give me a second. Give me a second. I got to answer this. Okay, guys, keep talking. I'll be back.
Look at her.
Well, in that case, I guess I can just keep reading on here.
Yeah.
Hopefully, can you hear me, Rainetta? Okay. If we were to fill this planet with so much gold to the point that everyone would have gold, the value of gold will decrease. The stores of gold in your tyrant tab will have no value. Therefore, they will no longer have a system to enslave. Our plan was to inundate the entire planet with so much gold that it will make it worthless, because greed is lack of spirit. The human race cannot evolve with lack of spirit because of technology. Your tyrants that rule you have no spirit. They have been using technology to remove the spirit within humans. In 2020, they made a decision to completely remove the spirit by forcing technology in the body. That's when El Dorado decided to change their status from neutral to acting, because the people that took this technology will become extinct soon, or at least half of them. That's what I was. We have to be very careful what we say here, but because this is YouTube. But one of the keys of doing that is gold. The rulers have stored gold for themselves. This gold that El Dorado wants to release would flood the world so much that, and it would be more valuable than theirs because of this living gold. They are incapable of stopping us, I guess, or me, is what King Obana says. Understand, technology is inferior. Spirit is inferior. They don't have spirit. Understand technology, like MRIs, med beds, etc., are all inferior because the person is lacking spirit. The bigger the spirit is, the more upright, just, and tempered, kind, and loving, and stern, and you hate evildoers, spirit will grow. Technology is to compensate lack of spirit. So there. I'm going to just go ahead and just read this last paragraph, and we'll just go. So we called it in on this.
Mhm.
But people are so angry at Rainetta because they are jealous. Because they want to use her genetics. She is protected in multiple planes. They try to humiliate her in many ways. The technology in her body is very complicated. It was put there so that some of these, I guess, her off-planet family, I guess they track her. They wanted to monitor her and also have an anchor. I'm sure I explain that just a bit. But the type of genetics she came with predates Adam and Eve. Sorry. They even need an anchor back to ancient civilization that ties people to this, I guess, the Kemet civilization. They need a point of interest and keep it a secret. However, it will be used for her good until her removal. She'll have to explain this. But it's also a weapon. I will not go further than that. If Rainetta wants, she can put a stop to all these people and everything on this planet. If she doesn't, that means she wants it to happen. She could order everything on this planet, I guess, to come to an end. I don't know. You're gonna have to explain. That's it. I'm done. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's something I don't want to talk about publicly. It's about I believe the technology that was put in my body when I was 13 years old, and the capabilities of that technology. Okay, I'm not going to go into that because the last time I let someone get close to me, I ended up in Tonopah, in Area 51, and when we were fleeing, we were chased in the desert by two Israelis. Let me just put it that way. Okay. So, but what I wanted to ask Stephen was if you could explain why is it, because to them, to King Oban, the water kingdom is greater than the gold kingdom. And I wanted him to explain, if he could, why is it that in the gold kingdom, they can only exist in 2 dimensions. And he said, the water kingdom is older than us. They can exist in 4 dimensions. So I was trying to wrap my head around that concept. Back to what's inside of my body. What's inside of my body is, from what I was told by someone who served under 3 US presidents, it's a very ancient, advanced technology. And when they tried to shut it down, the technology shut them down. Listen, let me do something really quickly before Stephen, before you answer that question, Stephen, if you don't mind. Okay, I wanted to show, okay. So you want to share the screen, James? Yeah, thanks. All right, so let me see if I can zoom out here. All right. I want you guys to see the symbiote. I'm going to take okay, hold on. All right, so looking at the screen, you guys are going to see the symbiote, okay? I have another video that's longer than this, but you're going to have to look at this one. It's too long. There it is. There it is. There it is. Right here.
Is that inside you?
Yeah, that's inside of me.
What is that creature inside of you?
It's a symbiote, like Stargate SG-1.
The Goa'uld?
Yep, that's what I think it is.
Has it ever taken you over?
No, actually, that is the guardian of the technology that's inside of my body. And when he was trying to kill that, he was trying to kill that thing, and basically what it did is it attacked the grid because he was using electricity to shut it down, and it attacked the grid in Phoenix and shut it down 13 times. 9,944 homes were shut down. Like, he was like, oh my God, Rainetta, what the hell is in you? Then when he tried again, he was using 2 aluminum spherical balls, and he was using radionics to try to shut it down. And it basically nuked these aluminum balls. Like, it was fighting his technology, trying to kill it. And if you see the longer video, it was literally like in the longer video when he injured it, because I think with radionics he was using like 30,000 volts, and that's why we ended up going to Little Alien, because there was a guy in Little Alien who I think was from the underground who told him how to shut it down. He said, no, we've encountered this type of alien before. He said it requires over 1,000,000 volts, and you had to use scalar technology to shut it down. So when he was trying to shut this creature down in order to shut down the technology that's in my body, and that's why the men in black are after me, the Jews are after me, because this technology is linked to what the Jews worship, and that's the black cube. Now, the Jews can only manipulate the black cube, okay?
Don't say Jews. You can't.
Okay, I'm sorry. They, the tribe, they can only manipulate the black cube. They don't control it. What's in my body controls it. And that's the reason why when I was younger, they kept sending me the tribe for me to marry the tribe. Okay? And when I didn't marry the tribe, okay, that's when they came after me to utterly ruin my life by riddling me with a different type of technology. And the different type of technology, I'm so sorry, guys. Let me just mute this. It's just like the different type of technology, sorry about that, is the type of technology that takes over your body. So long before they rolled out this, the needle, the okey poke, I was fighting that technology. So when I didn't marry the tribe into the tribe, because I didn't know the tribe was after the technology in my body, and the technology in my body, from what I was told, I'm just telling you what I was told by someone who worked under 3 presidents. He said, look, he said, you're the key. That is what he said. I was like, the key to what? He said, you're the key. You're the one who holds it together. What's in your body is linked to some satellite that's 10,000 light years away, and that satellite monitors everything on this side. He said, that's what's in your body. And he's like, that's why they're after you. And I thought he was absolutely crazy until I saw the technology actually fight. And then I ended up with the burn marks,
So Rainetta, where do you think this creature comes from that's inside you?
I think this creature is the symbiote that are the ureus that the pharaohs wore on their head. Okay, and that's representing the what you call the serpent gods, the Nagash or the Nakash, or the symbiote, or the Goa'uld. Okay, but the way it operates inside of me is, it's crazy. Like it protects me, but it protects me. Like anyone who tries to harm me, it goes after them. And I'm not just talking about people. It will go after an entire country. It will go after an entire organization. It will literally destroy everything if it thinks that something is threatening me. It's an ancient, it's technology from the Egyptians. That's what it is. Okay, it's Egyptian technology. That's what it is. That's what it is. And for whatever reason, my body could hold this very advanced technology. And it's interesting because they wanted to send someone from the Pentagon to pick me up in New York. And that was one of the reasons why I left New York. And I'm tracked and monitored by the Pentagon, tracked and monitored by, I mean, it's just a fucking mess. My life is a mess. This goddamn technology, whatever. But here's the thing. I literally cannot, marry. I just can't, like, it's crazy. I have to be with a specific type of person, with a specific type of bloodline. Otherwise, all hell will break loose. Like, literally. Yeah.
She's an 11.
What does that mean?
Huh? What? You're not an 11? You're an 11. Huh? Remember? 3811? You're a 3811. The numerology.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I notice you've got a few people here watching. Hi, everybody. I see a bunch of people here from my little group, the Getty group. Hi, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Rainetta, for sharing that. Can you tell us why you were actually at Area 51?
No, okay, so he was trying to shut an NAZI. I went to an NAZI because they're the only ones who know how to deal. They're under the pyramids in Egypt. They know about the Stargate technology. They know about the jump chairs in Antarctica. I'm hooked up to all this shit. I just don't talk about it, okay? I'm hooked up to the entire U.S. grid, all the satellites in space, you name it, marine systems. I'm under the sea. My ankle is like under the Mariana Trench. My brain, I mean, it's a mess. What they did to me, it's a mess, okay? Now, the technology prior to the technology that the tribe put in my body was dormant until the alien king at the UN turned it on. Okay, and I think he was an Anunnaki.
Probably Marduk.
Okay, I mean that was a mess. He was the one that turned on the technology in my body. Okay, so ask me a question again so I could answer it. Sorry.
Well, what brought you to Area 51?
Okay, so I went to an NAZI because I was like, fuck, the only people who know how to take down this goddamn technology is an NAZI, right? And I was literally hooked up. I was living in New York. I am literally hooked up to the entire eastern border. Okay? And you know that whole eastern border is the Pentagon. There is nowhere I could go where they couldn't hook me up. I couldn't take it. I was like, you people are crazy. I have to shut this down. So I went to this NACI and he started working on me, and he discovered the frequencies that was coming off of my body. Okay, so my ankle was the Mariana Trench, my brain is outer space, and then the left side of my pelvic area. Now, my vagina is the tribe. Okay, now my pelvic area on the left side, that's this ancient technology, and I hate all of this, right? So he was working on it, but the technology was fighting him back. Okay, it was fighting his technology back, and he was just like, Rainetta, listen, the only people who know how to shut this down is a little alien. That is where we agreed to go. Because he was trying to get me to Area 51, and I told him no. By the way, he's ex-UK MOD. Okay? Yep, that's exactly where we went. We arrived there late, so we didn't have a room to stay. And I said to him, listen, let's go to Alamo. Alamo is just 50 miles back. And he said, no. There's a town, 70 miles north of here. Let's go there. And when we got there, that's when I felt like, I said, hold on. I said, these people are trying to get me in this hotel. The hotel was, I'm not going to say the name, but when I arrived in that town and I saw that hotel, I said, this is the tribe. I was like, there's no way in hell I'm staying in this hotel. So we went to go look for another hotel. And when I gave the clerk my card to pay for the hotel, all of a sudden her dog walks out. And if you know me, one of the things about me is the elements will let me know, whether it's sun, moon, stars, rain, wind, water, land, earth, dirt, rabbit, fox, goat, sheep, pig, whatever it is. If there is danger, something will happen in the elements and I will know. It will tell me. So that her dog walks out of the room while she's like typing my information into the computer, and all of a sudden her dog is like barking like crazy. And I'm like, lady, why is your dog barking like that? And she goes, oh my God, that's a giant scorpion. I'm like, scorpion? I'm like, lady, give me back my card. So I take my card and we're walking out of the hotel lobby and she screams out, they never let us leave here. We're always here. I'm like, oh my God, Hotel California. I ran out of the hotel room. I was like, forget it. This place is crazy. The next day, I went to get my coffee and I'm like, hey, what kind of town is this? Is this military? She goes, no, this is government contractors. I said, contractors? I said, contractors for what? She goes, Area 51. I said, I told him I don't want to go near Area 51 because they kidnap people like myself. And he got us there anyway. Yeah. That's the story.
Thank you, Rainetta, for sharing that.
Yeah.
2 hours. 2 hours. 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Stephen. You look like you want to go.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and call it a night. So tell us more about. You said some events coming up Friday.
Yeah. So Friday, what we're gonna do is we're gonna be doing like astral travel to El Dorado, because I feel like the king has been saying to me, bring the people, let's heal them. Okay. And it's not a public event, it's a private event. And James, if you want, you can post my the link to my website. Or I can give you the link right now. Let me post it in the private chat. And you can post it in the group. So we're going to be going there in the astral. But before we go, we're going to do some purification because these people are very strict on bad conduct and, corrupt spirits. And then we're going to go so that everyone can experience what El Dorado is like. And I think the reason why the king is doing this is because he said to me, he wanted it to be on the minds of the people to bring this civilization from the dimension where they are into this dimension. So what he's doing is he's imprinting El Dorado on people's consciousness in order to bring it out into the open. So that's what's taking place.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. This is your website, Black Sunrise. Click on group training over here, and
scroll down. Okay, scroll down. Okay, and right there to up. Okay, right there to the left. Right, you pick the date, you pick the time, you put in the information. Yeah.
Okay.
And you join us. Thank you.
Wow.
All right.
And what about Stephen?
What about me?
I want to answer someone. Someone made a statement that if I wanted to get these implants out, I can't. Listen, let me make something very clear, okay, before we go. I have burn marks on my body, okay, severe burn marks, okay, trying to shut this technology down. Not only that, I was working with a doctor in Mexico, okay? This state of Texas sent men in black to the doctor in Mexico and told her, if you tell Rainetta where this technology is, we'll kill you and your 15 children. Okay? So please, don't tell me I can get this technology out if I want. Okay? And number two, you don't understand what this technology is capable of doing. Now, it requires a certain person to be able to remove this technology. This technology almost killed someone who tried to remove it. So please understand what I'm trying to tell you. You're not dealing with something that's earthly, okay? That's all I have to say about that. Go ahead.
Greetings, Rainetta. Your information is great and amazing to hear. It's full disclosure movement. So yeah, stay blessed, sister.
Facebook, thanks.
Melanated. You're
Yeah, melanated.
melanated.
Yeah, that I am.
All right. Okay, so I guess we're gonna call it a day here. Well, how about you, Stephen? Do you have any other final messages you want to share?
Stephen, where can we follow you?
Well, you guys, obviously, I'd like people to join the Telegram group. If you're not on Telegram, are you on Telegram, James? You have a Telegram group? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
do.
that's all I got anymore. I mean,
Because the YouTube banned you, and
YouTube banned me 3 times. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter will take my stuff down. I can't get anything. I'm shadow banned. Twitter, everything. It's all gone. So I depend on other people. But Telegram we've got. So if you want to join my Telegram group, it's called Occupy the Getty / Stephen D. Kelly.
I sent you the link.
yeah, it's actually in the description.
There you go.
Okay.
But that's it. Oh, but if you want to email me, law17gun@aol.com, and I do healing, of course, if you need free. It's free healing. And what else? Oh, if you want to be a Jedi, you want to learn about being a Jedi, you can send me an email. And the book. If you want a free copy or a PDF of my book, send me an email, and I'll send that out to you also.
Stephen, Revive has a question for you, unless you want to go.
Nancy Voker, you need to all come back. I'm still going to explain why and what other group can operate in multi-dimensions.
Yeah.
Talking about me? Is that a question?
No, yeah. Remember I said, why is gold in 2 dimensions? Why is water in 4?
Well, I think the thing is you got to understand is that even King Obama, whoever you're dealing with, they're trying to explain stuff that people don't understand,
Neither do I.
and it's like this density business. It doesn't matter what culture it is. It's like the Gnostics. They do a really good job of explaining the nature of the different densities, and modern Earth humans just don't have that. They say dimensions a lot. So in other words, when Oban talks about these 2 different things, he's talking about that space between these 2 sides, the STO and the STS, that it's essentially taking up the same space, but there's a gap that can't be spread, because it's like in the 3D, you can be married to a person that once you go through this transition, you're never going to see them again. They can't see you, you can't see them, and that's really what this whole archetype of going to heaven is all about. This whole making the right decision, being chosen to go to heaven versus going to hell. What that means is basically you're either going to go to 5D, which is what we call heaven, or you're going to go to 4D, which is what we call hell. And that's where we're doing all this fighting. And not everything in 4D is wicked, obviously. It's like King Oban. He's certainly in 4D, but he's got this connection to 5D too. And this is stuff we don't really understand. We try to understand it. We try to get it right, but we're often not right, as Oban would be the first one to tell you. We don't know anything, right? But yeah, he could be actually able to go between 4 and 5. So, but the 2 can't meet. Sort of something of this nature. It's kind of like the way the Matrix works. The Matrix is really funny. It's kind of like everything takes a step. 3D doesn't go to 4D; it goes up to 5D, unless you screw up and you go to 4D. And then, by the same token, you don't become an angel. That's like angels are closer to the animals than humans. Humans are closer to the ascended masters than they are the angels. We'll skip the angel level. Just like we won't go to the Holy Spirit level, we'll go straight to Source, because it's like every level does this skipping thing.
All right. So that. Oh, okay.
Well said. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Right.
All right, so let's go ahead and call it a day. So if you want to learn more about my work, go to supersoldiertalk.com, and there's also neologicaltech.com, where you can get a copy of my book. So, Stephen, I had this one back in 2012, but I've since added probably about 150 pages.
You haven't sent me a copy yet, dude. What's up?
You want to? Okay, well, we can talk about
you want a copy? What do you mean?
All right.
Signed and all that stuff? I mean, come on, man.
Okay, so yeah, be sure to subscribe to this channel and make sure to go over to Rumble, because I don't know. I mean, I've been switching. This is my 3rd YouTube channel now, so it is what it is. But thank you all, and we'll all see you later. So you all have a blessed day wherever you may be.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Please consider supporting Super Soldier Talk by purchasing your own Neo Meditation device. Your Neo Meditation device will help you reduce stress, integrate trauma, enhance intuition, enhance clairvoyance, and enhance creativity. Get yours now at www.neologicaltech.com.